So today we have on the podcast Renato, and I have known Renato, I think, since middle school, if I am not mistaken. Life, from what I understand, has taken you a little bit of everywhere. You've been through a lot of different things. But the main thing that I have learned from you is you're a fitness coach, and you have personally helped me, like in my fitness nutrition journey. I learned so many things that I had no idea. I mean, growing up Colombian, right? Like I'm just used to, chicken meat, rice and beans, and like that's what you eat. So
Yeah, completely.
So how did you get started in your nutrition fitness journey? Because I mean, it's a big difference from, at least how I grew up. So I'm sure it probably is with yours since you're, from Bolivia.
Well, hey there. First of all, yeah, it's been a while. First of all, I gotta say I'm really glad to be here. Glad to be on the mic. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course.
Yeah, going back and telling my story, it's been a while. It's if we go back to when I actually first started training, it was early 2013, 2014 actually. So I actually got into fitness later. When I was in school, I wasn't really the sporty guy. I wasn't the jock. I was actually pretty much the opposite. I was pretty in the books, into studying. I was in band. I did drumline. So I didn't really get into fitness or exercise when I was in school, and it was later on. Now, as a young kid, I was in college. So, as most college guys, what's the first thing that they look at if they're not studying? It's probably partying and trying to look for uh, look for a girl, look for a companion, look for someone to spend their time with. So that's what actually got me into training. I had a whole bunch of friends that were fit. I was not, and I was like, okay, I want to work out because I feel like that's gonna give me something that I might not have. And as you evolve within the space, you end up recognizing that the more fit you get, doesn't really attract more of the girls. It's actually the opposite. You get a lot of guys admiring how strong you are. So
Re-
yeah, that was pretty funny, girl, getting more into this. But I
That's so
got
funny.
yeah, I got a great passion out of it though. Cause at that time, this was back in Bolivia. I spent 10 years living in Bolivia, and I didn't really grow up with the means or the funds to actually invest in a gym or a personal trainer or anything like that. So I ended up going to a park, and I went to a park where there was a couple of parallel bars and pull-up bars like just spread out around the park. And this is pretty cool because in South America, I believe in Colombia, it's the same way. In most countries in South America, there's a lot of neighborhood parks that have like either a pull-up bar and a parallel bar, and that's like completely
Yep,
normal.
for sure.
Yeah, so that was so cool. So I went to this park and I was like, okay, how can I use this and get the body that I want so I could get the girls that I want? That was my approach to it because I
I'm
was
sure that's very common.
completely, especially when you're young and you're in college. So I ended up going to a park and it was just me, and then a couple friends tagged in, and this was my first introduction into training, which is a sport called calisthenics. It's basically a street version of gymnastics where
Mm,
you're using your body weight to provide resistance to get you fit and strong. So
nice.
the most difficult part was I just had my body weight and I had a pull up bar and a parallel bar. And I was like, okay, what can I do? It's like, how can I get stronger biceps? How can I get a bigger chest? How can I get, I don't know, how can I even target my legs? Can I target my legs just with this? So I had to get creative. And that made me dive into huge rabbit holes all over the internet where I looked for, um, I don't know, workouts and training modalities that had to do with body weight. And I literally picked up a whole bunch of stuff online when I started. And then it was just getting the aspect of being creative, just going to the park and saying, okay, how can I tackle this body part or hit this body part? And I was like, I would just make up the workouts in my mind and I would do them. And I had friends with me, so I would help them do them as well. It
I
was
think
cool. Yeah.
I think that having friends in the journey makes it a lot. I think you just stay with it, right? Because I think the friends you have, I mean, often fit people, they have fit friends, like, right? And people that are unhealthy have unhealthy
Yeah.
friends. I mean, that's just that's what seems to me to be the common denominator. And so, how did you find these friends, or were they just your friends and everybody wanted to get fit?
Yeah, no, it's totally there's two things to that. It's one, it's the aspect of the typical cliche. It's like show me the five people you surround with
Mhm.
yourself with the most, and I could probably guess what type of person you are. So there is some truth to that. It's like the more people that you usually tend to attract, or you're attracted to people that either are like you or that you want to be like. So, and it's extremely valuable because if you want to transform your identity, or if you want to become or level up to something, to a place where you've never been before, you kind of have to place yourself in those spaces where you are attracting, or you're attracted to these people that resemble the habits and the day to day that you want to live in. I did this with business. I did this with nutrition, with fitness. I was like, okay, when I got into training, I couldn't really find it in person. So what did I do? I looked for it online. So most of the things that I
Mhm.
saw, most of the things that I listened to was fitness tips from a lot of the people that were online talking about it. And I surrounded myself so deep into it that I started to pick up the terms, the habits, and I started learning on what to do to get myself there. Same with business. With business, I didn't have um, someone that was close to me that was in where I wanted to be. So I looked for it through a mentor online that had already built what I wanted to build. So I reached out to that person. In that case, I was luckily in a place where I could invest, and I invested in a mentor that taught me everything that I do now. And I'm still constantly investing in that. That places me in that position where I'm surrounded by the people that have and carry the tendencies that I want to adopt and have in my own life.
Right. I agree 100% with that. And how has your identity shifted, right? Because I think that when your identity shifts from not just being, right, you were someone that was interested in fitness,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you're like you're a fitness coach, right? A
Yeah.
nutrition and a fitness coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a part of your business. This is your business now. So your identity has had to shift a few times at least, right? To be able to become this new person. So how have you been able to do that? And who do you consider your identity as now compared to who it was when you started?
Oh yeah, it has definitely shifted quite a while, and to be honest, it's probably going to keep on shifting. I mean, that's just the rules of life. As we grow, we learn, we get better, we get mentors, we adopt a lot of the habits that they carry, and then we reach a level where we probably come alike to them, and then we get a mentor that might be at a higher level, and we constantly shift and evolve. Um, what has changed a lot in my lifestyle? I mean, just from growing up and not knowing anything about nutrition and fitness, I actually started with fitness first. So I followed all the trending fitness type of modalities. I became the group coach. I became that army drill instructor type of trainer because I valued exercise as like the main thing, the main component of the workouts. And then as that evolved, I got into nutrition. So my shift evolved. I started shifting the ways that I trained people, the ways that I coached everyone, the nutritional protocols I would carry. And then I got into a little bit more of science-backed nutrition, which made me realize and a whole bunch of things that I was doing wrong. I mean, people were still getting the results that I wanted them to get, but it was they were not keeping it. So I try to look for okay, why is my approach working for now but not working for the long term? So once I discovered that, my identity shifted again. But then I got to a place where I was getting people results and my business was growing. Well, the way that I trained people was getting better, but I didn't have the money that I wanted or like the
Right.
lifestyle that I wanted. And this is my passion. So I was happy with that. But then I was like, okay, what happens if I have a family? What happens if I get kids? What happens if I have to buy a home? What
Right.
how can I get my passion to actually carry into the aspects of like what I want for my family and for the rest of my life. So I had to learn everything about business, which was completely new to me. And that was a whole new identity of learning that. And I feel that's where I'm at right now. I mean, I started my business about a year and a half ago. And right now I'm at a place where, okay, this is a whole new world for me. And it's like if you get into a space of like the aspect of like where I'm at in terms of business, it opened my mind up so much that I got to see there's so much things that I didn't know. So they gave me the possibilities of like, okay, there's so many things I could get good at now. And what is
Right.
that? It's like, okay, I'm learning marketing, I'm learning sales, I'm learning all these different things that as a coach, I may not have been, I may not have been even aware of it, where now I'm aware and I know that I could get better at it. And I'm in a phase in life right now where I'm learning this. So I could be able to present myself in a way where I could help more people.
Yeah, well, you're very humble because I see your marketing and it looks good. And I have been someone that I'm like, he's selling me right now. I'm like, because I'm in sales, so I know. I'm like, I'll be, he'll be like, I told him I was like, I can't focus on this right now. This was like months ago. I
uh,
can't focus on this right now. I have so many things, right? Like I'm in business. I have so many things going. Well, when you said something like, well, if you learn how to incorporate nutrition and fitness into your life now, it'll actually be a lot I was like, what a sales, and I'm like, he's right. Like when you said that, I was like, yeah, he's right about that. But I was like, sales, I know a thing or two about sales, so I was like, I know what you're doing, but I don't.
Well, it's true, and it's you know what it's what's so funny, especially within the space where I'm in. I mean, as a coach, and I notice this from a lot of coaches give sales such a bad rap because of the aspect of like, well, I mean, when I first started as a coach, I felt bad trying to sell someone into a program. I felt like I was trying to force them. I was trying to force their hand. And it wasn't until my mentor was like, take a look at all the people you've helped. Imagine if they didn't know about you. Imagine if like no one knew what you did. You're not going to be able to help anybody. That's marketing. Marketing gets your name out there so you get the opportunity to help more people. Now, imagine if you didn't know the value of everything that you could provide for someone. Imagine if these people came in and they had no idea what you can give them, how it could literally transform their life for the better. That's what sales is. And it wasn't until it was placed like that I got into like, okay, the more people I want to help, the better chance I got to help, the better approach I got to take towards marketing. And then if I also got to create that awareness of like, hey, this is going to be extremely valuable for you. So this is why you should jump into this program. And that's what sales is. So it wasn't until that whole perspective changed that I was like, okay, into like wanting to learn about sales. And now I see the power behind it because
Oh, so
you sell
powerful.
more people, which is really cool for the business. But then in the other side, you get to see all these amazing results.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that fitness, uh, someone told me this. They said it's easier to become a millionaire than it is to get fit and stay fit. And I had never heard that before. And, and the person that told me this, I'm sure somebody told them that because they're getting into fitness now.
Yeah.
And I was, and they are a millionaire. So that's what it was. I'm like, whoever said this to you, I was like, they thought about what to say, or this is like some fact that I've just never heard before. Um, what do you think about that? Right? Because I do think that I see people that are in business and they aren't fit.
Mm.
And then I see people that are very fit and aren't in business. And then I see people like you that are fit and are in business. So what do you think is like, how do you think that helps you? Right? Like
Yeah.
not only in like obviously your health, but also in the business world.
It's definitely, both are definitely a challenge. I mean, staying fit and becoming a billionaire, having a successful business, it all demands a lot of work, a lot of effort from your part. It demands you changing your identity and creating these habits that ultimately leads to the person that you want to be, both business wise and fitness wise. I do gotta say, they're very aligned. A lot of the terminologies, the a lot of the approaches when you talk about habits, and a lot of even the metaphors that you use for fitness can be used for business and vice versa, which is really cool because when I talk to my mentors, they literally use something. Well, my business mentors, they literally use the same things that I'm using for my clients on me, like the same
Right.
words, the same thing, and then they ultimately say, it's like, hey, look, if for example, if you want to grow a business that creates a stable income of $10,000 a month, you're probably not going to do it in 1 month. If you want to create something stable and something steady and something that flows, without you investing your time into it, etc. It's like that's the same way that you tell your client, hey, if you want to lose 30 pounds and keep it off, you're probably not going to do it in a month. So there's a lot of terms that come that align. Now, there is a difference because there's a bad misconception of trainers or someone that's a fitness nut, for example, in the aspect of, hey, this person is very good at following a schedule. He's very good at going to work out. He's very good at following a nutritional protocol. So this person, if he goes into business, he's probably going to do good because he's very good at staying consistent with things. The thing is, what you don't ultimately see is I love training. So me getting to the gym is going to be extremely simple and extremely easy. I like eating, and I know how to eat for both health, for energy, for performance. So because I've connected the dots there, it makes it very simple for me to follow a nutritional protocol because I already have that awareness of like, hey, I'm eating this because tomorrow I want to feel really good. Hey, I'm eating this because tomorrow I'm going to lift really heavy. Hey, I'm eating this because I'm going to go out for a very long run and I'm going to need that energy. So I made that correlation, and that makes it very easy for me to do so. When I got into business, I sucked. I probably still suck. I'm still working on getting better. Now, I had the consistency, but because it was something new to me, because I didn't see the value, and to be honest, oh, I want some money isn't a good approach for
Mm-mm.
business.
Mm-mm.
I couldn't make the connections and the habits that I wanted to adopt with business, with how I live my life. And it's like one of those things that you have to constantly practice. I did the whole aspect of, from Atomic Habits, what James
Mm-hmm.
Clear says of like, oh, I think in nutrition, he talked about like when someone was making a decision around food or around exercise, like what would a healthy person do? So it's like I did the same thing with business. I was like, okay, I got presented with either the choice to go out with my friends for maybe just an hour to hang out, or I had something very important that I had to do within my business. What would a business person do? So I had to make that change, and I had to put in the steps and the work to actually make that alignment and make the right choice, which it's all comes back to the aspect of identity. And it's like you could create the identity of the person that you want to adopt, but you still have to put in the work. And
Right.
yes, they could be the same or a similar approach, but it's always going to demand an aspect of effort from your part. And the more of a nuance it is for you, the more effort it's going to need from you, because you still haven't connected the dots. You still haven't tied in the aspect of like, I'm getting this return from this. So that's why I should give it that time. I should give it the importance that it needs. I should adopt and modify my identity and the habits and my behaviors so it could get me closer to that.
I love that. That was so good. I would like go back a couple minutes and just listen to that again because when you were saying that, I was thinking, well, when you started in fitness or nutrition, you probably weren't really good at that either. right?
Oh
And
yeah, it
so when
sucks.
you're not good at something, I don't know about you, but me, when I'm not good at something, I don't want to do it,
You get frustrated.
right?
Yep.
You're like, I don't want to do this thing, like sales, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm good at sales now, but when I first started, oh my God, the reps, like how many people you need to talk to feel like comfortable
Oh
doing
yeah.
this now, you know? And then, but when you're really bad and you don't have any experience in it, it's often when you're accumulating the most knowledge,
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like. Because you're like, okay, when I did this,
Hmm.
the prospect did this,
Yep.
or even now, like in fitness, I'm not a fitness nut, but I remember when I was starting to talk to you, I still remember you were like, Maritza, just work out like 10 minutes a day. And it was, and I'm like, but 10 minutes is nothing,
Yep.
and you're like, just build the habit,
Hmm.
and now when I go to the gym, which I don't even try to think I know what I'm doing, but I just like going. It's not about it anymore, it's not about like, oh, I have to, and it's not like a specific physique that I
Hmm.
want, even though I do have a specific physique,
Yeah.
but it's not for that. It's like you do it now because you enjoy it.
Yeah. It completely. And you know what? Talking about this, and especially going back to the amount of the reps analogy, and I believe I got this from Ormozy. He just did a podcast of like everything that you should do when you're in your 20s, and one of the things that he said, and I remember when we were on a group chat with on a Zoom call with him, he really dialed like deep into this topic. We were talking about the aspect of investment,
Mhm.
and we were looking at like you could either invest with your money or you could invest with your time. And in our case, he was talking to a group of like new business owners. So and a lot of us did online coaching, and yes, we invested in mentors, but it wasn't the type of investment that a huge multi-million dollar company would do. So he said a lot of the things that you got to do right now is you got to invest with your time, and that's like the aspect of gaining the skills, watching the trainings, learning and practicing and all of that. And it really comes down to that, the practice, and it's the same thing when you're getting into fitness. Um, Sometimes the time investment that you got to take is just going to the gym or just learning how to move, just getting like what you said, just getting into the habit of making it a discipline. Once you make it a discipline, then you can grow. And a lot of people skip this because a lot of people go into the aspect of going into the gym or getting the training, and they're like, okay, I'm all in or nothing. And of course they
Mhm.
start with the most difficult approach, and there's aspects of like, and I'm not against this because it's a cool training program, but like 75 hard, it has you
Mhm.
working out twice a day for 75 days straight, no days off. It's like
Mhm.
you can do that, but do you think it would be easier to adopt that as a habit? Or if you say, hey, I'm gonna just drive to the gym. I think I actually have clients that do this. It's like just drive to the gym. Doesn't matter if you work out, hit the sauna for all I care, or go on a walk on a
Yes.
treadmill, but just get to the gym. And it's like just do that. And I promise you, if you do that for 2, 3 weeks, there's gonna be a point in time where like, hey, maybe I should pick up one of those weights. And that usually
That's
takes
so
that.
true. I love that. That's so true. When I was sick a couple months ago,
Hmm.
trying to add this new habit of like fitness into my life. And I said exactly that to myself. I was like, we lied to each other so many times, right?
Hmm.
Oh, you're not good at this. You're good at this. We lie to each other, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what if we lie? I was thinking to myself, what if I lied to myself to get me to what I want to do? So I was like, okay, I want to go to the gym. I don't want to go because I'm sick. Like that, I remember that day I
Yeah.
was sick. And I was like, I'm gonna go to the sauna because I love the sauna,
Yeah.
and the sauna's good for you, like when you're sick, like to get, anyway. So I'm gonna go to the sauna. I went to the gym. I was like, I'm not gonna just. And so I was there. I was like, I'm not just gonna go to the sauna. Immediately, I started working out. So just adopting that habit of going to the gym, that's really good to
Yeah.
tell your clients.
And that's the thing. It's like you don't have to make things more difficult for you. And you know who does this? Which I'm for and against. There's a lot of trainers out there and a lot of like especially science-based professionals that talk bad about group training studios. But a group training studio for someone that's completely new is, I would say, an okay approach if they want to start building the habit of training. It's not the best training program because nothing's going to compare to something that like is specifically made for you. But to be honest, it's like it takes all the guesswork out of it. If I have Mrs. Jones who hasn't worked out before and doesn't like going to the gym and she's at a place that she doesn't want to think about even what the program is or what exercises she wants to do, it's like a group training studio helps her. Just like, okay, the only thing that you got to worry about is walking in through the door. Just walking through the door, the training studio takes care of it. And now what we usually see, if that person sticks with it long enough, they start evolving into going into a gym, getting a personal training program, something that's more suitable to them. But hey, if Mrs. Jones wants to do Zumba and that's her way of training and that's what's going to get her moving and get it to become more of a habit, and because she enjoys doing it, because she sees Claire at the studio who she loves talking to, hey, that's great. You know, Mrs. Jones, keep doing that. Just make sure that you adopt that habit of actually getting there. And then from there, we'll work on how to evolve.
Love it. My other question is, what are you trying to accomplish by teaching others about nutrition and fitness? Like what's the outcome or the result that you're looking to get out of this?
Oh, that has shifted so much along the years. I mean, first of all, it was like when I was training, I just loved seeing people share their results with me. That evolved into the aspect of like, hey, I learned all this, I want to teach you, but then I also learned that I did this wrong. How can I help you not go through my mistakes? That later evolved into the aspect of like, hey, I have no money. I'm literally like on the streets. I was crashing in my sister's couch. And like, what the heck can I do to get me out of this? It's like, okay, I got this skill. How could I make it into a business? And it's funny because when I made it into a business, it was cool. I was making money, but the results weren't always the same. So I was like, okay, how can I take the money out of it, but make sure that I'm still able to provide an income for myself, and then also give people the results that they want? Because ultimately, I noticed the difference between me making money, but my clients not getting the results. I didn't feel good.
Right.
So like, how can I make money and how can I also get the results? And it's like the aspect of business. There's always going to be little things that you got to work on. It's like, okay, sales is going great, but fulfillment is not 100%. So how can I make sure that I'm fulfilling, but I'm also making good sales? So I learned how to do that. Then my dad passed away, and this was last year. And that completely shifted everything. Because I got to a place where like, how can I help all these people? And my dad, who was the person that's like the closest person to me, just passed away. And I'm sorry if I get a little teary-eyed, but it's like,
oh, that's okay.
We're coming up into a year next week. I'm actually going to Bolivia next week to have the year from the day that he passed. But when he passed out of a heart attack, away from a heart attack. And it was something that could have been prevented by a shift in the approach he was taking to life. My dad was overweight. He wasn't extremely overweight, but he was significantly overweight. He didn't do any means of exercise. He drank quite a bit, but he was an awesome person. And it was so cool because when I went to the service when he passed, that same day I booked a flight to Bolivia, so many people came up to me and told me so many stories of how my dad helped them. And I felt so good knowing the type of dad that my dad was. But I was like, but how could I help all these people? And I had the tools, I had the resources, I had the knowledge to help him. why couldn't I get through? And that opened up into the aspects of like, maybe my approach back then was way too intense. Maybe I made things a little bit too complicated. And I mean, if I'm working with someone that's my age, if I'm working for someone that's younger, or if I'm working for someone that's in their 30s, my approach could be great for them. But what happens if I'm dealing with someone that's in their 40s, in their 50s? If I'm dealing with someone that has a business, has a family, has kids, has all these different things? Maybe for them, telling them that 5 days a week, 6 days a week in the gym is what they should aim for is just way too much. Maybe we could downscale things so they do something which is going to be way better than doing nothing. And I remember my dad tried programs. He tried all types of programs. But like looking back at it, it's like all the things that he tried was like way too high of a level for him. So the shift of the protocols and the way that I coach people has completely shifted. And like one of the first phases I run people through is a discovery phase, which is like, okay, I want to see where you're at. I want to see what level of either fitness, nutrition, what you've done before, what worked, what didn't work. Let's do a very thorough assessment. So that way I make sure that what I give you first is going to be something that's accessible to you, and that's going to be simple for you to create those wins that help you stay in this for the long term. If that means telling my dad, hey, for now, let's not work out on like crazy exercises or workouts. Let's just start walking. That would have been great. It's like, hey, can you walk 5-10 minutes? It's more than not walking.
Right.
And it's like, can you, instead of like cutting everything out and just eating chicken, broccoli, and rice, can you just like try to find some way of getting more veggies in? And if you don't like veggies, heck, at some point you will, but let's start with fruit. I bet there's going to be one piece of fruit that you enjoy. Can we get that once a day, twice a day, or multiple times in a week? And what that ultimately does, and what I realized really truly creates long-term success with having a higher quality of life, is the aspect of modifying your relationship with food, modifying your relationship with exercise, and adopting habits and behaviors that help the two relationships that we want to modify. What's that look like? When we're looking at food, it doesn't mean always eating healthy and clean and always trying to go for like chicken, broccoli, and rice. It also doesn't mean, hey, binge on ice cream, drink all the beers, and eat all the fried food. It means, hey, it's good to feed your body to make it healthier, to make it more nutritious, nourish your body, give it the veggies, the multivitamins, give it the fruits, all the minerals that it needs, give it the macros, the proteins, carbs, and fats. What are those? Chicken, the rices, the olive oil. Give it everything that it needs. But also it's good to value food for the moments that you have with your family over some cheese empanadas. Or in my case, taking my nephews out for ice cream. That's extremely valuable for health. But if you know how to create a relationship with when you're nourishing your body, but you're also feeding your other aspects of health, like the quality of the people that you spend time with, then you adopt that, you modify that relationship. Same with exercise. It might not be workout every single day, but it's like, can we move? We don't have to have an excessive, crazy approach with exercise, but we still need to move. And can we just learn how to move a little bit more? And that ultimately creates a higher quality of life. And what does a higher quality of life mean? It means we don't notice this when we're 20s or 30s, but when we're 40, 50, or let's say a 60-year-old, I bet you if we get two people, they're both 60 years old, one of them has relatively eaten a little bit more veggies and fruit, has probably worked out maybe 2 or 3 times a week for the past 10, 15, 20 years, and you compare that with someone that has not done any of that, those two people are going to be completely different. The way that they move, the way that they carry themselves. One person is probably going to need help going to the bathroom, where the other person is going to be able to go out running without a problem. And that's what I want to help out with. I want to help people create those relationships with food and exercises that carries on to long-term success, which helps you when you're 60, when you're 70, when you're 80. So that way your quality of life in those age, when you're that age, is much more enhanced. So that way you're there for your family, you're there for your kids, for your nephews, and you won't need as much support and help to do all these basic general day-to-day things.
Are you saying that you're helping someone like me so we don't have to lose our father and go through the pain you have? Or also help people like your father that, you know, maybe just didn't have the knowledge that you do of how to have sustainable health, right?
Yeah.
Throughout your lifeline. Because I think what you're doing is helping both, um, but I want to go deeper into the
Yeah.
why because I know that fuels you.
Do you know what's something that I've noticed with, well, A, with myself, and B, with a lot of the people that I coach, is that when one person starts adopting these habits, it tends to branch out to the closer people around them. So one, I want to help someone like you learn the benefits of everything that I teach, adopt it as a way where you yourself could benefit from it when you're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. And you're most likely going to benefit, get really good benefits from it right now, because ultimately a lot of the people that come to me when we're in our 20s and 30s, like, we want to look good. So to be honest, a healthy body looks really good. And as you do this, the people around you start asking you questions. They're like, what are you
Yep.
doing? So
Yep.
it's like, hey, this is what I did. It wasn't so hard. You can try it out. And that could pass on to your spouse. It could pass on to your kids. It could pass on to your parents. And it slowly branches out. And then that way, if one person has a power where, like, hey, dad comes, is like, I'm trying this fitness regimen that's gonna get me working out 6 days a week, you can say, hey, dad, why don't you just do it twice a week? Don't you think that might be easier and more sustainable? And that starts helping them out. And it's like the aspect of, I think my church does this. Yeah, my church does this. It's like, you want to be the representative and you want to be the one taking the steps forward, so that way later on your family comes with you. You cannot tell your family, oh, you got to do this thing, you got to go here because of this. It's like, no, you got to be the role model. Once you're the role model, those values start branching out. I mean, my dad, a lot of the values that I have in the ways that I communicate with people, in the love that I have for the people around me, and the ways that I want to help, I gotta say I got it from him. It's because that's how he carried his life. So it's like those values could be passed on either up in generation or down in generation. But once the person commits to it, that's when it gives it the possibility of it branching out.
What kind of person are you trying to be when you're like 50, 60, right? You're doing this, the business, you're helping people with their health and doing all these things, but when you're older, right? I don't even think you're 30 yet, right? How
Nope.
old are you?
29.
Yeah.
I turned 30 in May, actually, this year.
Okay. You're, you're still young. So when you're 60 or 80 or,
Yeah.
whatever, and you look back, like who's the type of person that you're trying to become?
I guess I want to be, ultimately, I want to have a vision of, like, and I think I also, Ormosi's a big guy that I follow. He's one of, I feel like I share a lot of there's a lot of things that I share that are very close to what he does. And there's obviously some things that I'm probably against as well. But one of the things that he talks about is he correlates success with the aspect of how many people he could help. And I feel like that would help. That's where I envision myself in the future, in the aspect of like, I really want to help a lot of people. And now I know that's probably going to lead into like, okay, there's so many people I could help personally. And it's probably, there's probably going to be a point where if I want to reach more people, I got to find a different way. It might mean teaching coaches. It might mean helping coaches learn everything that I've learned, so that way they could help their clients. And then that would ultimately multiply the amount of people that I could help. And if I see myself in 60 or 80 years, I mean, I look back of what I'm proud, and I keep looking to the side because I have a picture of my dad right next to me. I look back at what he did and how I felt when I went to his funeral, when everyone came up to me and really talked about how my dad impacted their life in a sort of way. I want that.
Right.
I want the aspect of like, hey, Renato really cares. He really helped me out. He was there for me. That would make me feel really, really good. And then if I have those values and I could pass that on to my kids, that would make me feel even better. And then if
That's
I
amazing.
also pass those values on to the people that I help, that's why I always tell a lot of my clients, hey, ask questions, try to share your stuff with anyone. If they have questions, just send them over. I'm always an open book. You could literally text me something. I mean, I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, but I'll try to find some way where I could respond and I could give you an answer. Anyone, my client, not my client, anyone could reach out. And if they have anything, any questions on anything that I might have knowledge of, I'll give that knowledge. No questions asked.
You really do that. Just because I I have taken advantage of that, and I'm like, yeah, what about this?
Yeah.
And he always answers. I'm like,
Mhm.
this guy, man. This guy is so nice. But anyways, I also wanted to ask you, I know that what happened with your father really fuels you right now with the decisions that you're making, not only in business, but in life, I would say, right? And who
Completely.
you're helping, how you're helping. So, what do you say to people that being healthy for them just seems like such a far-fetched idea? Like they don't believe they're even capable of becoming healthy anymore just because their habits
Mhm.
have been unhealthy and they have been for a very long time. Like what what would you say to someone like that?
It's really hard. Especially the more you do this, the more you talk with people, you're gonna notice there's some people that commit right away and they're like 100% all in and they make all these big changes and they're like transformation is wild. But then there's also the other side where there's a lot of people that want to do this and they like
Mhm.
deeply want it, but they're not in a place where they're 100% committed where they make these changes. And there are also people that might think it's like very far from them. And there's different, I consider them different stages of where they're at. And there's, I don't know the whole saying, I'm probably going to mess this up, but there's a saying that's like, you don't change until the rate of change is less painful than where you're at right now. I don't know exactly how it goes, but what it basically means is like most people don't make the change, don't try to change something within because it's very painful for them to actually make that change. Like seeing like if you look at fitness, if you look at training, if you look at nutrition, that's something completely different from what they're used to. The changes that they have to make within their own lifestyles scares them, and that's very painful for them. So that's why they don't make those changes. It's very hard from them. Then, worst case scenario, something happens. I had a close friend. I've been reaching out to him. He's been asking me a lot. He's like, I'm overweight. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I tell him, it's like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And he just had, the doctors just told him he had diabetes. It's
Wow.
like now, before he didn't want to make those changes. He would ask, but he wouldn't do it. diabetes became very painful and very scary. It's such a scary disease. Now that pain is much greater than the pain of making the change. So now you see him actively pursuing that change, which is very sad that sometimes it has to get there. But we could find ways to stop it before. And one of the things, and that's why I talk with the easy approach so much, is like, you don't have to dramatically change everything right now. You can make things super simple. It's like, can we find something that's a low-hanging fruit, that's something very easy to grab, that's something very simple to do right now that would create some aspect of success and that we can grow from? Because there's always going to be something you can do. And to be honest, most people know what to do. Like, if you get presented with a salad and a hamburger and you're like, and you want to nourish your body, you're probably going to know which one's going to nourish your body a little bit more.
Right.
So it goes back to the aspect of like, why are you not making that decision?
Yeah.
And
Is it a priority?
yes.
Does it matter to you?
Yes. Is it and it matters to some extent to most people. But like you said, it's how much of a priority is it?
And why does it matter?
Yes. And why are you not choosing the salad? And why are you going to the hamburger? And it's so weird, but sometimes, depending on the level of person, I mean, I could only help out some people to a certain extent. I can't do the work for them. Sometimes, to be honest, investing in a therapist is something extremely valuable for them. And to be honest, if it's someone that needs that extra help, that needs that extra support, there's studies that has been done by two groups of people that pursued a weight loss journey, where one group just tried to follow a diet plan, and the other group had a therapist counseling them. The group that had the therapist counseling them helped them so much because it's so tied deep into our behaviors that just giving someone a meal plan, just giving someone a workout regimen is not going to do much for them if they're not at a place where they could approach those behaviors to actually fulfill what they need to fulfill.
Right. It's like pain and pleasure, right? Which is really what drives us to do whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Some people are really driven by pain. So like your friend with the pain of, now I have diabetes, I really need to take care of my body, I don't want to die. You know, that's more painful than it's painful that I've had these habits for such a long time and I don't think that I can change them. And I feel like a failure when I try something and then it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Sometimes it's even, and you could honestly even break it down even more and say it's more painful than, hey, I'm not going to enjoy that hamburger. I'm not going to get the flavor from that burger. So that becomes that's something that in writing is very easy to say, but in practice it's very difficult to do, because when a friend tells you, hey, I want to go eat that hamburger, and you're like, I got this meal plan that I got to follow.
Right.
And the thing is, it's not that specific event either. It's like, if that specific event is what you do all the time, what's important.
But also, I feel like food, there's just people think food is just like, and I tend to be like that too, where it's like, I'm like an all or nothing girl. It's like, I'm going to do it all or nothing, or I'm not going to do it. It's like one or the other. I don't like this, like this easy approach is probably very, very good for a lot of people. So I think that's what it should be. But then there's crazy people like me where I'm like, if I'm not like doing it all in, like I don't want to do it. Like I probably won't do it, So, but I'm sure the rate of failure is probably
now
significantly higher for people like me.
It's cool that you say this, because so I'm in these coaching mentorship groups, and we all do the same thing. We're all nutrition coaches that help people with our regimens, and our regimens are very similar in the ways that we approach, because the science is the same. I mean, science doesn't really change, right. But usually what changes is the type of people that we work with. Now there's we were looking back over where I'm doing a strip down of like what my whole program is and like how I'm going to market it and like what I'm specifically going to do. And everyone's presenting what they're doing and how they're going to market. So we were talking about like our avatar, who's that person that we want to attract, and that person that we ultimately like working with and that we could provide the best results for. And now that you said this, there's one of the coaches in there was like, hey, I help people that are all in that all or nothing mentality learn how to modify the all or nothing mentality so that they could get the pleasures of feeling productive, but taking a easier, safer approach. So it's like giving them what they want, but ultimately underneath it, like feeding them what they need. So there's actually coaches that are that specialize in this, and they must have techniques within their programs and their protocols that they approach that they could help their clients out with. So for anyone that's looking for a coach and that's looking to actually pursue this, like you could follow the standard basic, like, I don't know, there's so many like $30-$40 a month program that's made for everyone.
Right.
But some people need a more individualized approach. And there's a lot
custom.
Yes.
Tailor-made.
Yes, and there's a lot of very smart coaches that could do that for you. That they have the protocols, they have the techniques and the ways where they could get you the results that you want and also give you what you need.
Right. And I think that like fitness business, it's like there's stages, So before I didn't want to go to the gym. You remember this, Renato?
Yep.
And I was
Completely.
like, nah, I'm not going to go to the gym. I was like, everyone's going to look at me like I'm an idiot. I'm not doing that. Anyways. And I would just work out at home. I did that for a long time. And then I was like, all right, I kind of want to, I don't know what changed, but I was like, I kind of want to go to the gym. So I started going to the gym. And I like the gym I go to. And I just started going. And then now I'm like, okay, well, I go to the gym now, right? Like this is like it's not like, oh, I have to go to it's not that anymore. It's I want to go to the gym,
Part of your day to day. It's like brushing your teeth.
Yeah, it's like I want to do it. And when I don't do it, like last week I had a crazy week and I couldn't do it. I did it. I think I went to the gym maybe once.
Yeah.
And yesterday, like last night, I was like, this week I am going to the gym like multiple times. I was like, because I miss it. It almost becomes like
it's part
like
of
it's like a relationship. So but now I'm at the stage I'm like, well, I'm going to the gym now. Do I have like this custom thing? No. Because right now I'm like, I just want to continue building the habit.
Yep.
I just want to get consistent and be disciplined with this habit. And eventually the moment will come where I'm like, okay, I need to ump it a little more. Like
completely. It's exactly what you said. It's different stages of the journey that the person's taking towards this new type of lifestyle that they're trying to create, this new identity that they're trying to shift into. So it's like, yes, you get the aspect of like, first, let's get into the habit of getting into a gym, becoming consistent with it, becoming it part of your day to day. And then what happens there is like, okay, you're exercising, you're moving regularly, but sometimes you hit a plateau. Sometimes like, how can I get better? How can I get better results? And then it usually evolves into like, okay, I'm in the gym. Can I follow maybe a program, maybe something that's more structured? So then that gets you into what that program is. And that makes a very big difference between exercising and training. And this is like the coach in me now talking. It's like most people go and they exercise. And what happens if you go and just do movements and just exercise? At the start, you're going to see really good results because it's something new to you. But it's like when you're in business, what happens if you go into your business, you're starting it out, but you have no systems, you have no processes, you don't have a clear path, or you don't have like a clear structure of what your goal is. If you start off and you're really well known, you might do good or not. But unless you actually like set like a goal or set a target, it's going to be very hard for you to like create that path for you to actually reach that goal. So when you go from exercising to training, what happens is with exercise, you're in there just to move. With training, it's like, okay, now I want this goal. So now I have this program or this journey that's going to get me to that goal. And that
Mhm.
gets you to get a little bit more, as you said, tailor-made, more suitable for you and for what you want to achieve.
100%. And what would you say to people that are plateaued in business, fitness, life? Because I think we have plateaus in all areas of our life, I would
All the
say.
time.
Yeah. And so what do you do when you plateau in life and business and fitness to keep you going um when, things just don't feel like they're improving?
Yeah. So I do two things with this. First of all, if I hit a plateau and I'm not moving forward, or sometimes if I'm even going backwards, I try to look back on what I'm doing right now and compare that to what I've been doing so far. And this is so easy to see in the training side of things because, like, for example, if I lost, I don't know, 5 pounds of body fat or 2-3% of body fat in the duration of maybe 2 to 3 months, and I hit a plateau or I ultimately gain some of it back, it's like, okay, what's different within my program? I noticed that 2 weeks ago or all of last month, I was walking, maybe I was taking 7,000 steps a day, and now this whole 2 weeks I haven't been hitting that target. Or before I was pretty strict with like tracking my foods or my calories, and then I'm not doing that anymore. Or like before I was hitting the gym 5 times a week and now I'm going to the gym 3 times a week. So I try to make that correlation of like where are you at now, what helped you get there, and are you still fulfilling those steps? Are you still doing the stuff, the boring work, my coach says? Are you still completing that? Now, if you want to get better, if you want to overcome a plateau, it's like, okay, if you are still doing those things and you're not seeing more results, it's like, okay, where is the ultimate goal that I want to be there, that I want to achieve? And how can I get there? Or how can I find the ways to get there? And that could be the aspect of like maybe finding someone that's already there and learning from them, or takes a little bit more time doing the research yourself. Now, with everything we have online, you could find a lot of different ways to overcome a plateau. Being with business, being with fitness, being with your general day to day, and it's like a matter of like identifying where your goal is, where you want to be, knowing where you're at, and trying to find that path. Now, I do gotta say, it becomes way easier if you get someone to help you
Mhm.
create that path that knows how to get there, that's already been there.
Right.
Because they know what they've done, they know what they messed up with, and they probably work with other people and they know what's worked with other people, because sometimes what you do for yourself doesn't work for other people. So try to find that guide. Now, most of the time, sometimes you get some cool friends that are already there that help you out, but a lot of times also you probably have to invest in that knowledge
Mhm.
because you invest in the experience and the wisdom. But if you don't have the means to invest, then it's like, okay, you know where you're at, you know where you want to be. Can you look up different resources? You could read, you could find books, you could look online. The only caveat I got to say here is that there's so much online. It's so easy to get lost. And with business and fitness, there's stuff that like counter each other so much.
Mhm.
So with that being said, learn from all different types of camps. Don't just follow one person. Try to learn a little bit from everyone and see what works best for you. Because like I said, there's so many things that are contradicting. There's so many things that like one person says this, the other says that doesn't work, that they should this. It's like, okay, try to learn from both and see what their sides are and figure out what works best for you. Now,
Agree.
this is the difference in between what an investment does for you. Because the investment, the wise coach, the wise mentor is going to help you there, and it's going to have a path, and it's probably going to be structured. Now with fitness and with business, you can't really say, oh, you're going to exactly gain this amount of money or you're going to exactly gain these results in this amount of time, but you could probably get a good guess based on the amount of work the person does. Now, that's you investing your money. With the other path, which is you looking for it yourself, your investment is going to be that of more of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be the time that you take looking at videos, reading the books, trying out different things and failing, which ultimately you fail, you learn. But it's just like the time that's going to take you to actually get to the goal. That's where your investment is. And now it's based on you, how you want that investment to be. Because that time
Yeah.
delay could be a year. It could be many years.
Mm-hmm. I think that everyone is an investor.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. Just like I think everyone is a salesperson. They are. They just don't know it. Um, so you're either investing in time, energy,
Mm-hmm.
effort,
Yeah.
or money. And
Yep.
typically I've invested in money to learn a lot of the things that I have learned. And a lot of people that I know that figured it out themselves, they in business, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just to give you an example,
Yeah.
they'll say, I never go to like a business, right? I
Yeah.
never, and they're actually very successful.
Yeah.
And I never invested in a mentor, right? Because they're like, well, in business, I don't know
Yeah.
about fitness, but only like maybe 5% of those people actually do
Do.
something
Yeah.
with what they are taught. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I understand that. And I was like, but the amount of time it's taken me to learn what I've learned is compressed compared to how long it took them because I just chose to pay to play.
Yeah.
It's like you go to college, you have to pay to get the degree, right? Well, I kind of saw it the same way. You have to pay to play, and if you want to be in business, you pay to play. If you want a really good fitness like regimen, you have this like this is your goal and you know why you're doing it, then in my opinion it's like just pay.
Yeah.
Like just pay it. Don't waste so much effort and time when you could be invoking that time on, if you have kids, spending time with your
Yeah.
kids. If you have a business, spending time on your business. It like to me it's like just pay the money. Like to me it's easy, like just pay the
Yeah.
money. But
And
I
to
know
be
not everyone
honest,
thinks like that.
yeah, to be honest, what you said, both paths work. I mean, the guys that say that they wouldn't invest, they're still successful. So
Mhm.
their path worked for them, and it was a longer journey maybe, but it still worked. So it's like, and to be honest, like talking about investing, it's like, yes, there's a lot of coaches out there that suck. I've made a lot of bad investments myself. But even the bad investment in per se of like maybe the investment didn't give me the return that it promised, it still gave me something. It still gave
Right.
me the wisdom of like the aspect of like you're always going to learn something from someone. That being a good coach, a bad coach, a good investment, a bad investment, you're going to learn what to do or you're going to learn what not to do. But there's always going to be some aspect of return.
Always.
Now, I do got to say, if you are going to invest in a coach and you're thinking of investing heavily, do your research. Don't just
Mhm.
invest because for the emotion of the coach or the mentor, but just like actually take the time to see who that person is. Maybe take the time to talk to the people that he's worked with.
Mhm.
And then if he doesn't want to provide their information, that's kind of a red flag.
Fishy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have any testimonials?
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, ending on that note, I think that you gave some really good feedback. Honestly, I just was like, I want to ask him so many questions about fitness and like learn. But I was like, but honestly, I know that this is way more than that. So I focused on the way more than what I wanted to really learn. But anyways, but you gave some really good insight. I would say I have personally benefited from Renato. Me personally, you could use it as a testimonial. I've personally benefited and I've seen results in my body, right? Obviously I still have a ways to go, but I have noticed a difference in my energy. And I don't even know, like, I think 2% of what Renato knows, like, literally. But the little bit that I have learned, if you apply just a little bit, even just from like your social media, if people just apply what you tell them on social media, they'll see a difference.
It's funny because sales is such a big part of our day to day in our life. You know how I was telling you about the coaches that when most coaches don't really like selling, and what we do on a day to day in our coaching calls or whenever we're training someone is we're selling them something. Like for the aspect of like maybe you weren't consuming a lot of protein, and I kind of sold you into the habit of getting more protein in. The
Yeah, I learned the
metrics,
benefits.
yeah, the metrics of the benefits of maybe not getting a skinny fat type of look or holding on to
Mhm.
muscle or building muscle. But these are conversations that we constantly have with our clients on our coaching calls or in the gym studio that we end up trying to sell them into adopting this new type of habit or lifestyle that would really fulfill them and give them the results that they want. I come back to a story. There's a cool story. I had a client come up to me and we were working on getting stronger. That's most of the things I work on with everyone because you
Mhm.
get stronger, you get healthier, and it helps with everything. But she came back and she's like, I'm so happy. She went on a trip and she came back and it was like, this is the first time that I didn't have to ask anyone to put my bag in an overhead compartment. I was
Aw.
able to do it by myself. She was
Aw.
like, I would always have to ask someone next to me or someone close by to put it over me. And it's like, I'm physically strong enough to actually put it overhead without a problem. And that
That's
was
so
so
cute.
valuable.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I would always ask Daniel, but not because I was just because I don't want to do it, but I'm like I'm married,
Yeah.
I get some benefits from this, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. That's good. That's amazing. You don't think about how in the day to day it
The
affects
little
you.
things. Yep.
This is fun to me because the weight is symbolic in my mind. I
Okay.
was like, I have weight on me, like not in
Yeah.
life and
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have problems and things that I have to step up to the plate and
Yep.
take care of and lift and get it out of the freaking way.
You got to
And
be
so,
strong for that.
yeah. And so when I'm doing it in the gym, I'm like, this is symbolic. I was like, I'm doing this every day, all day. So I was like, might as well do it for my body.
That's a
Um,
great metaphor. I'm gonna take that. That's
do
really,
it.
really good. I'll give you props. That's a really good metaphor. We all have so much weight that we have to carry on our shoulders on our day to day, and we have to be strong enough to support it.
All the time. People
Same
do
with
it
us.
emotionally,
Yeah.
like all the time, right? Like the mom that has like all these kids and maybe is dealing with problems in her
Oh,
job,
yeah.
and it's like I have to come and I have to be strong for my kids. They can't see that I had this horrible day and
Yep.
it's like I have to make them a meal and I have to do like you keep going. But follow Renato. Renato da how do you say your last name?
Renato
Arriaza?
that Arriaza.
Arriaza.
Yeah, it's Arriaza. It's kind of weird. My dad gave me.
Arriaza. Well, it's good. If you're Hispanic, you say with the R, the rolling of the
Yeah.
R. Yeah. That's good. But anyways, please follow him. You even have a Facebook group. What's the name of your
Yes.
Facebook group?
So you could follow Fitness and Nutrition Simplified on Facebook, or you could just write out my name, Renato Arriaza, and you'll be able to follow me, and I'll shoot you an invite. That's where I share a lot of basically what I share on Instagram, I share on Facebook with a little bit more detail. And I also
Hmm.
jump on live videos explaining certain topics to more of an extent because fitness is really a conversation that you have to have to actually learn it in a very well in one of the best ways possible is to actually like listen to it quite often because sometimes one thing's not going to click until you hear it many times.
So true. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. It was an honor,
Yeah.
and I appreciate all you've done for me.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was actually really, really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. Thank you for inviting me.
Same here. Thank you so much, and go kill it in fitness and business.
There you go.
Bye.
Bye.